Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Mikei Gray of the Frst zooming in from Nashville today. How you doing, Mikei?
Lance, doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. We were talking for a second there before we started recording. We have beautiful, cool days for both of us.
That's
Rare for
right.
you in Nashville, though.
Very rare, especially in June.
Yeah, same up here. It's hit or miss, but it was like 90 and humid yesterday. Today it's cloudy and like 70.
It was kind of the same here, but it's a perfect day to talk about rock and roll, isn't it?
Absolutely. And let's talk about this new single and video you got out for a
Yeah.
song called Small Talk. Uh
Yes.
awesome stuff.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
This sort of all genesised out of a phrase you put in your notes app a while back.
That's right. Yeah. About a year ago, when the pandemic was really hit pretty hard in the States, it kind of felt like the death of small talk. When you talk to people that you cared about, family, friends, colleagues, there wasn't sort of the usual chit chat. It was kind of right to the point. How are you? What's going on? Are you okay? Is your family okay? And
Right.
so I didn't necessarily see the death of small talk as a bad thing. I thought it was bringing a little bit more honesty to conversations and a little bit less beating around the bush, so to speak.
Mm.
So yeah, again, I think it could be a positive step for humans and civilization, but yeah, that's where the lyrical inspiration came from. And musically, I wanted to do something kind of similar to Tarantino. That song performed well for us at radio, and I didn't want to copy it. So I just kind of followed the structure and tried to give it a little bit of a different twist, sort of a sonic update.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are.
Now, the first has always been, a total band effort. You've had a lot of musicians come through that I want to talk to you about in a
Yeah,
little bit, but this was totally you,
it
130
was.
tracks of Mikei
Yeah,
Gray.
yeah,
That's
yeah. It was
approaching
it was a
Bohemian
lot.
Rhapsody.
Well, yeah, it was a lot. It took a little while to wrangle those tracks, and of course that includes vocals tracks and
Yeah.
tambourines and stuff like that. But Steve Hardy, our mixing engineer for a while now, he's amazing. Of course, he's known for his work with Jay-Z and Alicia
Yeah.
Keys, a lot of great hip hop acts as well as rock acts.
Right.
And he always knows how to wrangle the tracks together and kind of get the best out of them.
Mm.
And yeah, it took us a little while. Just anytime you have that many tracks in a session, it takes a little bit. And of course, I try not to overdo it. You don't want to add, that many tracks just for the sake of adding them. But
Right.
but it felt right. And I showed it to the other guys, and they said, "Send it off, man. It's good to go."
Well, that was the thing. As I was listening to the song, it's got a very lush, layered sound, but it's not overly layered. And what I picked up on a lot was like the background vocals, like on the chorus and stuff. I thought
Oh
was
yeah, thank
brilliant,
you.
brilliant.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Arranging is just kind of one of my passions. I think that's one of the most fun parts about writing and recording. And yeah, it's my passion for sure.
Definitely. You also got some pretty hardcore help with mastering on this with Andy Vedette, who'd worked with Bowie and Beastie
Yeah,
Boys
yeah,
and
Andy.
Rush.
Yeah, Andy's amazing. I mean, Sublime, Rush, David
Yeah.
Bowie, Seven Does, Kid Rock. I mean, he's kind of the Beastie Boys. He's kind of done it all. And Andy is probably one of the guys I've been working with the longest. I think we've been working together for about 10 years or
Wow.
so. In fact, we just hit the point recently where he could tell me that my early music sucked, and I took it as a compliment because it was from Andy. So
Yeah.
he's a great guy. We're lucky
Yeah.
to have him.
Yeah. And the song also sort of came about from a distortion pedal that Adam from Taking Back Sunday gave you, helped you get the guitar sound you were
Yeah,
looking for.
yeah. He gave me the grunge pedal, which is an old pedal, and of course Nathan Kogan from Taking Back Sunday he's the other guitar player in the band. And so yeah, Adam gave me this pedal, and it took a few years to find something to use it on. I'm not going to lie to you, because it's got a very almost piercing kind of tone. And I was having trouble cutting through on Small Talk with the lead guitars. They were kind of getting buried in the back with the rhythm guitars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe this is the perfect song for it. And I tried it out, and it nailed the tone to, cut through the mix. And yeah, so it was great to get to use it. Of course, I was a total nerd. I asked him to sign the pedal, and so I could prove to my friends that it was authentic,
There you
and
go.
bragging rights or whatever. But yeah, no, it was perfect for the song.
Now you played instruments on all the tracks as well, you know, all the 130
Yeah.
tracks of vocal and
Yeah.
instrument. Is there an instrument that you're stronger, another one that you sort of struggle with, or are you just one of these guys that can pick up anything and play anything, who I am so jealous of?
Well, a little bit of both. You know, guitar is my main instrument, and of course, vocals came after that. So I'm obviously very comfortable, you know, singing and playing and that type of thing.
Sure.
You know, second to that, it's hard. It's hard to pick between bass and drums. I love playing the bass. I've played it for years. I like to play it like a bass player, you know, which some songs do call for a pick, but personally, I love playing fingerstyle. I love slapping the bass. You know, there's a lot of techniques to bass that I think a lot of modern players are overlooking. They're just kind of reaching for the pick and calling it a day. So I love playing the bass. And the drums are, you know, kind of a guilty pleasure. I played the drums in the school band many years ago, and didn't really pick them up for a long time. You know, I wanted to be a drummer when I was a kid. My parents said, how about a guitar instead? You know, it's a little bit cheaper, a little bit quieter. And it was a great call. It was a great call. But, you know, I got a drum kit many years ago, and yeah, just kind of haven't looked back since. It took a while before I felt comfortable playing on the record. In fact, our first single, another one back in 2018, was the first song I'd played the drums on. And it was scary, you know, because I hadn't played drums on an official release before that. So, but it worked out well. And at the time we were working with James Paul Wisner, who's, you know, he's amazing. He's a longtime mentor of mine from, you know, Dashboard Confessional and Paramore and all the great bands he's worked with. So he really, you know, helped me get through those early sessions on the drums. And now it's one of the instruments I look forward to the most.
Very cool. Now you say like guitar is more like your forte, and singing. Do you consider yourself more of a singer who plays guitar or a guitarist who sings?
Definitely a guitar player that sings, and I'll tell you why. Because for many years I didn't sing. I was, you know, the guitar player. I still wrote, you know, the majority of music in different bands and handled arranging and stuff like that. But what happened was each band would, you know, get to a certain point, whether it was, you know, playing our hometown stadium to 40,000 people, or, you know, making it into alternative press as, you know, a band to watch, or and then the singer would quit or, you know, go AWOL or something like that. And eventually I realized, man, this is going to keep happening to me unless I just take the plunge and become a singer, you know? So I had no formal training when I started, which was, I guess, maybe about 10 years ago at this point. And I just kind of jumped in, you know, head first. And those early gigs, you know, they were painful because, you know, people were expecting something at the level that previous bands had been at. And, you know, I was just starting out. So, but I knew I had to do a lot of gigs. I had to do recordings to get to where I am now. You know, I wasn't going to be deterred by lack of experience, you know?
So you're finding your voice, you know, so to speak.
Exactly.
Very cool. You talk about playing bass. I got to name drop somebody because I haven't really
Please
gotten
do.
to talk to a whole lot of people about this.
Yeah.
I got to interview Tony Franklin a couple days ago.
Oh my God, how was that?
Amazing.
Oh my God, he's such a monster.
Yeah. Just, you know, I asked him a couple questions about, you know, some songs on the Firm's second album. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember one, you know, one was off Paul's solo album, and then I put this other effect, and Jimmy really liked that. And I'm like, my God, man, you're talking about Paul Rodgers and Jimmy Page. You know?
Right? Oh my God, man, that's insane. Has that interview gone live yet?
Yeah, I've got it up on my YouTube page.
I'm gonna check that out when we get off the Zoom. I'm checking that out for sure.
Great guy. The video for Small Talk, I'm assuming you probably shot that yourself as well. Did you have anybody help you out with that?
You know, we did. Laura Dobransky, our longtime videographer, she's great. She's done a lot of our videos. She shot that, and it was edited by Dwayne Borba. He's the only editor we've had since our inception. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. You know, it took a long time to build the set, get all those newspapers covered. And in fact, we had ordered a lot of newspapers off of eBay because we wanted to cover the wall in very, you know, topical political things of the time: coronavirus, BLM, George Floyd, just kind of everything that was going on at the time. And they were delayed by it took 2 months for the newspapers to show up. Wow. So we ended up just having to run down to the store, you know, and we would buy a handful of newspapers, and we'd get back and, you know, be building the set, and we'd run out and we'd go, crap, okay, you know, go back to the store and get more newspaper. I think we ended up making like 6 trips to, you know, get all the newspapers for it.
I noticed.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I know I didn't want to cut you off. I was waiting. I noticed there's one that figures kind of prominently where you can see where it says final issue. Was that sort of a
Yeah,
reference to the death of small talk?
it was, and that was a paper here in Nashville that we saw that
Mm,
I guess they had been printing. Um, I mean, Tennessee's been a state for 200 and some odd years, and I
yeah.
guess it had been printing almost that long, and there was some crazy, crazy articles in there.
Mm,
And so yeah, we're a very forward-thinking band, and I thought it would be kind of an interesting topic of conversation like we're having now, to
mm,
kind of look back and see how far we've come, and yet, the other kind of shortcomings that we've had as well.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, that was a very, very interesting piece there.
Right. And then the burying of the guitar.
Yes.
And I've tried to sort of read into that. I realize you probably want to keep it open to anybody's interpretation, but you want to give a little bit of what you were going for with that?
Yeah, well, this was our second guitar smash.
Yeah.
The first one was, of course, in pawn shop, where we
Right.
bought all the instruments, smashed them, and then tried to return them, which was hilarious. This time around, obviously, I was the only member smashed anything.
Right.
And of course, if you haven't seen the video, which I know you have, but for those listening, the guitar gets soaked in blood, fake
Right.
blood, by the way,
Yep.
uh, and then it gets smashed. And so yeah, without giving too much away, I mean, it's somewhat of an analogy for the times we were in, and
Mm,
the death of small talk. And I think music is taking a very interesting turn. I mean, we love electronic music and EDM and all that kind of stuff, and to a certain degree, try to incorporate some of that, but I think a lot of the human element of music is disappearing.
yeah.
And I think even in an electronic realm, um, you can preserve that human element. I think Radiohead was a great example. Some of their later albums of
Mm,
keeping some of the human feel, and not fixing everything in there, keeping a little bit
yeah.
of sway in there, but updating the sonic palette. So there's a little bit of a nod to that, and yeah, I guess the rest would probably be best for the viewers to decide.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. You talk about, the EDM and the hip hop and stuff. Does this sort of tie in with you kind of grew up in Florida, Gainesville, which
Yeah,
I think of Gainesville, I think of Tom Petty, you
Tom
know.
Petty, of course.
But you also were in Miami for a little bit, correct? And
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
that's where you got exposed to the hip hop and the EDM.
It really was. Before I moved down there, I really didn't know almost anything about hip hop or EDM.
Mhm.
And that would have been, let's see, around 2009, 2010, 2011. And at that time, Skrillex was just becoming popular.
Mm,
They have the Ultra Festival down there, one of the biggest EDM festivals in the country. So yeah, I was exposed to a lot of music.
mm,
If I'm not mistaken, I think even Dead Mouse was just starting to gain some traction then, even though he had been around for a while.
mm,
So that really opened up my sonic palette. Um, and I think I was somewhat naive before that, thinking that it was lacking a certain, like I said, sort of human element, and then realizing, hey, there's guys and girls in both of those genres that are doing some really innovative things, and yet it doesn't sound
right.
pre-programmed or too
Yeah.
computer oriented. And so I try to incorporate some of that into our records. On our first record, Prelude, I thought I had a pretty diverse sonic palette. We had songs like 7-Eleven, where there was sheet metal clanking, and of course we introduced the hubcap guitar built from a 50s Buick hubcap, and
Nice.
there was slap bass and all these kind of things. And then in the press, it kind of was pigeonholed as, it was a grunge record, or, oh, it was a straightforward rock record.
Mm,
So on the second album that is forthcoming, This Never Happened is the title of, I've been trying to include more of those different elements, funk, R&B, hip hop, EDM, while kind of trying to tie it into a cohesive sort of 21st century rock record.
yeah. Cool. What brought you from Florida up to Nashville? I read where you went from washing dishes to playing in the Ryman in 6 months.
Yeah, that
What?
was wild, man. Well, I had worked as a guitar player for many years in Florida, and of course, everybody said, "Don't go to Nashville. You're gonna end up doing something like what I did. Washing dishes, waiting tables, whatever."
Yeah.
And just for me personally, and this is nothing, certainly not an absolute statement against Florida or anything. Having lived in Gainesville, Miami, Tampa, Orlando. I felt like I had kind of made the rounds, and I was ready for a
Mm,
new challenge. And at the time when I got up to Nashville, it was that era where every country band had to have a rock guitar player.
right.
So, I just kind of fit right into the scene. And yeah, I was, a college graduate washing dishes for about 6 months, and had an incredible lucky streak. And yeah, 6 months later, we were doing the Ryman and, touring with pretty much every major country act, and,
Right.
doing some really cool stadium gigs and fly dates and, all that kind of stuff you
Sure.
dream about when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And eventually, that kind of wore down a little bit. Just in terms of, being on the road full time like that was, as you can imagine, somewhat exhausting and
Mm,
hard to really make career gains or improvements while you're touring all the time, kind of playing
mm,
some of those shows. So eventually I decided, I got to get off the road, and started producing and writing full time in Nashville,
mm,
for an assortment of different publishers and things like that, artists. And that was a lot of fun. And that was kind of the second wave in Nashville, where every writing session had to have a hip hop producer.
right.
So it was, again, a second, wave of perfect luck timing to kind of jump into all these really cool sessions with different names, and get a lot of writing credits and work with, a lot of labels, publishers, and stuff like that. And then eventually I kind of hit, the same ceiling of like, okay, this is amazing, but as long as I'm doing this, I'm still going to kind of be in the back seat as far as, writing and production goes. And of course, felt the need to just have a vehicle to express all of our different ideas, genre wise, because that's sort of the genesis of the Frst is,
Right.
we can do anything. We can do a funk song, we can do psychedelic hip hop song, we can do, a grunge song. So
Yeah.
that freedom of limitations is kind of what the band is all about, hence the lack of an I in the Frst.
Right. Very cool. I want to jump into the Frst, but first you brought up you were a college graduate. You went to school in Santa Fe, correct?
Yeah, that was great school, had a great
How'd you
time
end up
there.
out there?
Well, it was the branch in Florida, and
Oh,
I
okay.
actually I actually left high school uh, before my junior year and became a full-time college student,
Okay.
which at the time was amazing because that opened up the touring realm.
Right.
In school, you had to be there. College,
Sure.
of course, as we know, attendance isn't necessarily counted, so you'd show up, pass the exams, jump back in the van, hit the road. So
Right.
I was doing a pretty extensive touring schedule, from 16 onwards. So it was perfect.
Plus going to college. So that's
I
it's a
loved
great
it.
work
I
ethic
mean,
right there, you know?
well, thanks. Yeah, but any 16-year-old, I think, would rather be in college than high school.
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
you know.
definitely.
So
Um, so the Frst formed around 2017, correct?
that's right. Yeah, I dreamt the name in December 2016. I woke up from the dream and went, "Wow, man, that's crazy. I'm sure that name has got to be taken." And of course, it wasn't. There was no variations of the Frst without an I at all.
Yeah,
So we snatched up all the handles and the website, and quote unquote, started the band. But it wasn't until 2017
yeah.
that we hit the road, and we actually toured for 2 years without any music out, which was pretty crazy. A lot of people told me we were, committing musical suicide, so to speak. But um, I really wanted to test the songs out on a live audience and,
Yeah.
see what would stick and what didn't stick. And it was a great process. Not that I would do it again, but we reevaluated a lot of singles that we were going to drop and ended up, scrapping them for kind of some raw or rock and roll type
Mm,
material.
sure, sure. Nothing like cutting your teeth right on the road live, you know?
Exactly. Yes.
Talk about some of the people you've had come through the Frst that have played with you and everything from everybody. What was it Rodney Atkins and Insane
Yeah.
Clown Posse and
Yeah. Jeff from Insane Clown Posse has played drums on a couple songs. He's amazing. I mean, he's a total rock star. He's played with a lot of artists. He played with Black Bear briefly. He toured as an opener with Machine Gun Kelly for a while.
mm,
Yeah, he's worked with so many great bands, so it's always an honor to have him. And of course, he's our full-time drummer. Nathan Kogan from Taking Back Sundays, total rock star. Always a pleasure working with him.
yeah,
He's our other guitarist in the band. He's got a great studio, so he likes to do tracks out of his place.
yeah.
Although we have had him in the studio a few times, but if somebody wants to work out of their studio, I have no problem with that. I'm the same way.
Sure.
So we welcome that, and of course Justin Smith from Rodney's band, and coming up we've got Ryan Pruitt, who is Billy Ray Cyrus's keyboard player now.
Wow.
So we did a really cool collaboration, and he's going to be a featured artist on that. Of course, Kid Brunswick, Universal Island artist from London. He's amazing. And that was cool how that came about. I played guitar on his song Bipolar Rhapsody, which is this 6 or 7 minute long, very progressive, as you would guess from the name, type of song. And after that, he jumped on our song, so that was really cool. Of course, Andrew Leahy from Rolling Stone magazine, and Andrew Leahy and the Homestead. We've had him on some tracks, and make sure I'm not forgetting anybody here. Bobby Pinkston from John King's band. We've got an upcoming collaboration with Malin from Purple Beat.
Wow. It's an amazing list right there.
I think I've got everybody.
All right.
If I didn't, they'll message me afterwards. Say, what the hell, man?
Exactly. You forgot me.
Yeah.
I read you talked about it briefly, and I read it. You bought your first guitar at 10. You wanted drums, but your parents talked you into guitar.
They did. It was actually, I'm staring at the guitar right now. It's next to me in the studio. It is the same guitar I used and the This Is Me Now, a video that's covered in neon tape, which we did for the sake of the video. It wasn't always so cool looking. It was $100 from JCPenney's, and it came with the amp, to give you a perspective of how cheap it was. Wow. The amp was plastic. The guitar at the time, it could barely stay in tune. I've had some work done to it since, and it's actually not a bad little guitar now. But yeah, I like the summer of '69 song goes, played until my fingers bled, and then played some more. Wow. Eventually I smashed the plastic amp during a gig. I think I was maybe 12 years old. It seemed like the right thing to do. And very lucky to have the guitar with me still. In fact, a few years ago I was on tour, and I had to have a mole on my chest removed, and not a big deal, but they had to go in a little bit deeper because it was precancerous or whatever. And I had 7 stitches. And so I had to play a really light guitar on that tour. And so that was actually the guitar I played for a handful of shows because it was so light.
Right. Were you able to buy it in store? Or did you have to order it through the catalog and wait?
It was ordered. Well, of course, it was a Christmas present, but it was ordered through the catalog, which talk about old school.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I remember. I was thinking just the other day. I remember looking through, the JCPenney and of course the Sears Roebuck catalogs. Yeah. That's
and they had a fair amount of instruments in those back in the day. But this was, kind of the lowest model that was still quote unquote a real guitar. And just kind of never looked back.
Excellent. Now, another thing sort of unrelated, but related to the music in the past year, you've overcome some tremendous adversity. The tornado down in Nashville, you were sort of, I don't know what you use the word, a gypsy vagabond for a while, moving from house to house. Is that a proper term to use?
Yeah. No, that's
along with COVID.
Yeah, along with COVID, that's taking a hard hit. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, even going further back, obstacles they're nothing new to us. My right ear was cut off and sewn on twice. Wow. After the eardrum exploded in the hands of the doctor, which was about as painful as you would expect it to be.
Yeah.
And let's see, they had to cut my fretting hand open a couple times and remove some nerves out of there as a late teenager. So I had to relearn to play guitar after that. So yeah, it was, in that sense, nothing new. But in the sense of trying to still be productive musically, write and record and release, really, moving from place to place, it was definitely a challenge. We were so blessed to have so many, friends and fans and family that were just amazing to us, helping us through that time. I think we moved about 7 times in 6 months. And of course, things were everywhere. Stuff was in storage, gear was at one person's house. And so it was difficult, but we made it happen. We finished releasing Prelude through all of that. I think we released about 5 singles while we were moving around. And of course, our augmented reality app, which if you're listening and you don't have that, just go to your app store and type in The Frst, and you'll find our augmented reality app. So yeah, we were, very blessed to be able to get through that time. And we built our own studio outside of Nashville. through the summer, and it was completed, let's see, around September, this past September 2020. And so, I mean, as soon as we moved in, before it was even soundproofed, I was, you know, starting work. And in fact, Small Talk was the first song I tracked in here. And then wrote and recorded This Is Me Now afterward. And everybody in the camp was like, yo, that's got to be the comeback single. So go back and set Small Talk aside, go finish This Is Me Now, and then, you know, come back to Small Talk and it should be mostly done. And so that's kind of the process there, and why it took a little bit longer than I would have liked, you know, to get new material out.
Yeah. Chatting with Mikei Gray of the Frst, zooming in from Nashville today. Check out the video for Small Talk. It's the latest single. Excellent, excellent stuff. Another video you did I wanted to talk about was for another one, which led sort of to a hands-free law in Tennessee, I read.
Yes. Well, so that was our first single. And like I said before, I was writing, recording, and producing for other artists, publishers, things like that. And then I saw U2 on their Joshua Tree tour. And it had such an impact on me for a few reasons. Number one, they incorporated every form of art. They had poetry going down the side screens. They had short films that they had made playing behind them on, you know, supposedly the world's largest film screen or whatever. And then, of course, the music, and of course, they're very forward thinking and politically active, and bringing all those things together. It had such an impact that when I get back to Nashville, we're kicking the Frst into full gear. And another one had been written just not long before that, because there was no hands-free law in Tennessee, like you said. We had almost been hit several times. People that we knew had almost been killed. People were hit and killed. And it was a huge thing. It was totally legal to, you know, text away on your phone at the time. And it was a huge problem. So we took to the streets, as you've seen in the video, where we snatch iPhones out of people's hands and smash them with a Louisville Slugger. Which, by the way, we tried to get a Louisville Slugger endorsement for that, because I did the national anthem up there a couple times for a few of their games. And they said no. So that's okay. But I know, but we used it anyway. Side note, it might have had something to do with the language, I would guess. And yeah, it took off rather quickly, which was a huge surprise, because, you know, for years I spent so much time and energy trying to do what I thought was commercially viable, what, you know, I thought would be successful, or what somebody's publisher wanted, or something like that. And that was really the first song in a long time where we just said, screw it, man. Let's, you know, this needs to be said. Nobody's saying it. Let's drop this thing. And of course, it was a ton of fun to make the video. You could see the bloopers from it on the Frst app. Cool. Watch me miss the phone quite a handful of times. And yeah, it was just a ton of fun to make. You see Jeff Hutchins in there from Insane Clown Posse, and a couple other guys and girls. And Laura Dobransky is she makes a cameo, our now videographer, but she's driving the car. Nice. And yeah, that was just a ton of fun to make, and took off rather quickly.
Yeah, and you got something, you know, really, really good out of it with it playing a part in the hands-free law. So very cool.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that was the goal. So I mean, we certainly can't claim credit, but I'm just glad that they finally did something about it. You know.
I gotta ask, being in Nashville, I mean, you've of course played and met some amazing people and played with, you know, everybody. Have you met anyone down there who's either left you totally starstruck, you've gone total fanboy on, anything like that?
Oh man, well, the short answer is yes. You know, I've always been pretty good about keeping my cool around, you know, celebrities and things like that. I would say it was hard meeting Dave Grohl. He is the coolest guy in the world. You know, and we chugged a beer and all that kind of stuff. He's of course a notorious drinker. Will drink anybody under the table. Right. But it was hard to keep it cool. You know, of course, approaching him with beers in hand is always a great start. Right. But Butch Vig was there, you know, and he was kind of staring me down the whole way over. And then of course, you know, once I was over there, it was all good, and you know, we were drinking buddies. But yeah, that was a hard one to keep it cool. I've seen the Foo Fighters in concert a few times. Of course, I'm a huge Nirvana fan. Right. So that was a difficult one. You know, Chris Carrabba from Dashboard Confessional, another super cool guy. makes you feel very, very at home. I think what was hard to keep cool around that situation was playing all his signature guitars, and
Yeah.
nerding out and playing some of the dashboard riffs on his guitars,
Right. Yeah.
So that's always cool.
Yeah.
But
Very
yeah,
cool.
it's been awesome. Playing in the country world was great because I didn't know what a lot of those people looked like. So, I'd be
Sure.
standing there having a drink with one of the guys, and I didn't even know, who it was, until afterward.
Sure.
And then there's times, guys like Ricky Skaggs is very identifiable. You
You're
see him
right.
right away, you know who it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been great getting to meet so many different people, and being reminded to stay as humble as possible, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Check out all the website as well for the Frst.com. First is spelled, of
Yes,
course, Frst.
that's right.
And check out that video. What is coming up next for you in the Frst?
We've got another single coming out. It's looking like August, and it is a collaboration with Maylin,
Yes.
Maylyn, all caps. Look her up on Spotify. She's absolutely been crushing it on Spotify lately. So we're really, really excited about that. That's the first co-write in the
Yes.
Frst. Everything else has been self-written, and it's kind of cool. We wrote that song a week after another one came out, so it was written maybe 2 years ago. And just recently, I was going through my catalog and went, "Well, this could be a Frst song." Of course, it
Yeah.
was written to be a Malin, kind of pop song. So we're really excited about that. Like I said, also we have a collaboration with Ryan Pruitt, Billy Ray Cyrus's keyboard player. That'll be
Yeah.
coming out. Looks like fall.
Nice.
And just lots and lots of singles, and of course the new album, This Never Happened, which I'll go ahead and say was slated for fall, but we wrote and recorded a bunch more songs and got a bunch more guest features, so that's actually going to be out early 2022.
Excellent. Excellent. I always like to end my interviews with just some fun questions. I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked. Sound good?
I love it, love it.
Favorite old school wrestler?
Oh, wow. I'd like to say Hulk Hogan because a
Yeah,
fellow Tampa gentleman.
sure.
But when I was a kid, we saw what is it, WWE, and who was the guy with the makeup? Wasn't his name Sting?
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
saw
yeah. I was
WCW then. Sting.
WCW. That was
Yeah,
it. Yep, I was a big
Sting.
Sting fan as a kid.
All right. You talked a lot about, and we've talked a lot about all that you're good at in music. Is there something outside of music that you're good at? Are you like, a good auto mechanic or a good arborist or
Oh,
something like that?
I'm pretty terrible at most things. I will say my friends love it when I make coffee. I make Cuban coffee, lattes, things like that. Iced coffee, dark, cold brew. That's probably my second skill. I would say skateboarding, but I gave that up quite a bit of time ago.
Okay.
So,
Would you rather have the power to be invisible or to read minds?
oh wow, that's a tough one. I would say invisible because I feel like I can usually get a good guess on what someone's thinking just by looking at their face.
All right. If you could go back in time and eat one of your mom's home cooked meals from your childhood, what would you have her make?
Ooh, probably lasagna.
Lasagna?
I come from an Italian family.
Okay. Um, is there a television show you would like to have a Frst song placed in?
Ooh, wow, that's a good one. Well, I know the last and final Jackass movie is coming out. I think fall, or I think it's this fall. That would have been a dream come true. Unfortunately, it's already been filmed and cast, so that won't be happening anytime soon. But that probably would have been my pick.
All right. Go-to karaoke song.
Oh, I actually ran karaoke in my first few years up here in Nashville as a side hustle. Let's see, what would I usually pick? Let's Dance by David Bowie.
Ah, great tune. Great tune. Favorite toy as a child?
Oh, I think we were into Star Wars as kids. We had the
Yeah.
little action figures, Han Solo, Luke
Yep.
Skywalker, all those guys.
Okay. Last one. This is the one we have the most fun with.
Okay.
If they were to make a movie of your life, what actor would you pick to portray you in the movie? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Oh, wow. That is a tough one. Especially because all our favorite actors are aging, right? Who's somebody
Yeah.
young?
Or you could always go with a young, somebody.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think of who I've gotten before. I've gotten Tyler Hilton a couple times, which is kind of funny because I did a show with him. I've gotten Robert Pattinson a couple times.
Okay, yeah.
So possibly him.
Sure.
I mean, if I were going to feed my own ego, I would say young Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't go wrong there.
Oh, God.
Very cool. Mikei, has there been anything I haven't asked you, anything you didn't get to talk about that you wanted to talk about in this interview? The floor is yours.
Lance, you're incredible. I just want to say thank you so much for having us on the show. We love your show. Everybody listening, be sure to hit the subscribe button for Lance. And we hope to see you soon, brother.
Excellent. Yeah, you ever get up here, definitely we will try and hook up. There's a few clubs up here you probably could get into. So
it's beautiful up there. We'd absolutely love to be up there soon.
And I've got some friends in Nashville, so if I ever get down there, I'll
excellent. Hit us up, man. We'll bring you into the studio.
Absolutely. Once again, we've been chatting with Mikei Gray of the Frst. Latest single is called Small Talk. Once again, you can check out that video on YouTube. Check out the band's website, thefirst.com. Give us that app one more time. Go to the App Store and download. What is it?
The Frst. That, just like the band name, type that into your App Store, both Android and iOS, and you'll download it. It's totally free. You scan the logos anywhere in the world. If you don't have any merchandise, that's fine. Just go to the website or Google us or go any social media handle will have the logo. You scan it and you'll see all of our infamous bloopers from all of our music videos, which are pretty funny.
The best part,
It is.
All right. Mikei, have a great rest of your day. It's been awesome chatting with you, and hopefully we get to talk to you again soon.
Lance, likewise. Thank you so much, brother.
Bye-bye.